So it's my job now.
Yeah.
Oh right.
You're the only one who's capable, isn't it?
Jollof after Jummah.
No sponsors.
My name's Ibs.
What? Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I apologize for my co-host. You're back with the Jollof after Jummah podcast. Certain men are getting complacent because
that's the first. You didn't hear what I said. That's the first thing I said.
I'd like to introduce myself. Sorry for my friend over here. My name's Abdullah. And to my right I have
Abdullah.
And your name is brother.
Brother,
what's your name?
Okay. Ibrahim.
And before we continue, because we haven't been saying it at the start, let's go with the admin in it. Because
I'm tired of doing it. You know?
Nah, we have to
What admin?
If you're watching this video or you're listening to this on whatever, at the beginning, because at the end of the day, I mean, just pause the video now, scroll down and like. We'd really appreciate it, inshallah. And leave a review if you're listening on Apple or whatever. There might be a prize for the first person that leaves a review. Maybe you need some more motivation because you might not moving stush right now. Inshallah, but please, it would help us out a lot. Subscribe, all of that. And the socials, you know what they are. Give us a follow. DM us your thoughts. If you're not going to comment your thoughts is even better, but DM your thoughts if you don't want to do that. And yeah, man. No, but seriously, do it. Do it. Do it.
We're not starting the episode until
yeah.
Okay, so Bismillah. Yeah, what are you saying?
You have to explain. You have to tell us.
Abdullah's got one of his opening sermon again.
Yeah. No. Let's go. How are we?
How are we? Oh, it's true. How are you? I am, alhamdulillah, all right. What am I doing? Life, same old, man. Just trap. That's it. Obviously, halal trap.
Pharmacy.
Halal trap.
Okay.
Yeah, halal trap. Don't know what he's saying.
Where were you this morning?
Alhamdulillah.
Oh, the suit.
Yeah.
Basically, sometimes I work in. It's called aseptics. So it's basically where certain meds they need to be prepared in a aseptic environment, which basically means free of
concealed.
And we do that too, and free of life. Like, so you're in a room where there's like negative pressure, so like air is being pumped out to make sure there's no particles, and you prepare certain drugs, mainly chemotherapy, in those conditions, and then I just have to kind of inspect them and check them that they're safe, make sure that there's no particles or anything in the bag that could cause any issues when it gets injected into a person.
Oh,
so I have to wear a funky suit.
I thought you were talking about a smart suit, a smart casual suit.
No, I was wearing I looked like I was making nuclear bombs.
Yeah. I was gonna say, basically, for those who don't understand, basically the Homer Simpson kind of.
Yeah, I looked like the Homer Simpson thing at the beginning, basically that, but blue.
Interesting.
But obviously, let me just get that. I didn't have my phone in the unit. I was outside taking off my suit.
Okay.
In case anyway, do you know what I mean? Because obviously I got to pay bills and can't be sacked. What are you saying, Dula?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, same old, man.
Are you sure? You sound like you had some stuff to get off your chest. Another monologue incoming, guys.
No.
Get ready.
So basically,
go put the kettle on.
Friday, I was obviously when I was gonna
when you said if or when you're gonna do polygamy.
Yeah. I was going to say after that, this is not me putting myself out there at all. This is I'm talking about. Let me leave it. This is just me not putting it out there.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to say that, I was interrupted, and this is gonna be linked to the second point that I'm gonna mention. In regards to the whole Waitrose story thing. So I was in Waitrose and I was shopping and someone recognised me.
I swear you said it was Audi off the pod. Anyway.
Audi, Waitrose, whatever. Okay. So I was shopping.
Big money. Mashallah.
And yeah, little. And someone came up to me and said, "Oh yeah, I listened to a podcast. Are you on Jollof after Jummah?"
Jeez, a global.
I was like,
yeah.
No, I don't
From
even.
London to Waitrose to.
They didn't even mention anything. They just said, "I listened to a podcast and I follow your thing on Instagram." So yeah, obviously shout out to you. But they were like, I like what you do. Obviously, you're the savage guy. And I was like, savage guy?
Is he still alive?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What are you doing? That's bad noisy, fam.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, savage guy? What do you mean? What do you mean, savage guy? He was like, yeah, you obviously you talk the talk. You back your, I can't remember, you back your talk your talk, something along those lines, innit? And I was like, and it got me thinking, like, your definition of savage, I don't want to be called savage, because I was seeing the word savage in a negative way. Because man's not, don't call me a savage. And it's not that, it's not the fact that
was that the encounter?
Huh?
Was that the full, wait, what's the rest of the encounter? Or the rest of the story?
No, I just said, I'm not a savage in a polite way. And I was like, thanks for listening, kept it moving. That's it.
Okay.
But in my head, all of this was going on, and I basically was like,
Was it an act, by the way?
huh?
Was it a brother?
It was a brother. I don't know if Muslim, non-Muslim.
Oh, just a prayer. Like,
yeah,
okay,
man
so
didn't say salam, nothing. Just came
Okay.
up to me and said, yeah. So basically, and the thing about this is, he was a stranger. Is the fact many people have said this to me in the past. Like, I can count on two hands a couple of people that have said this to me since we started the pod. But I think it hit home because he's the first stranger.
Yeah.
And it was like, why are you calling me a savage? What reasons do you have for calling me a savage? Because if you're calling me a savage in the same sense of the same way other people use the word savage in a positive way, as in people that like just come on a platform or are just known for just talking and saying stuff to deliberately offend people, or that they know that would offend people, or to make a statement, or to be known. That's not what I want to be known for. Me talking on this platform and saying what is on my mind is me saying what I believe in contrast to other people talking nonsense, not accepting nonsense, which is how I am as a person. I don't say stuff to get a reaction. I don't say stuff to seem different or be a contrast to what everyone else is saying, which is what you find a lot of people on public platforms do. They say stuff. I don't even want to mention it. I was going to mention a name, but I'm not even going to mention a name. There's a guy that I'm thinking of in my head that he's a perfect example of this. That he just goes on this platform just to talk, saying like there's a way he can.
Just
the difference
saying
between me and him is he says stuff deliberately to get a reaction. He knows better. Me, I'm just naturally blunt, and if I could put it in a better way at the time, I would. But I'm not thinking
about the delivery.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about the delivery. Maybe I'm passionate about what I'm saying. Maybe I've just heard nonsense that has just ticked up, that has just moved the wrong clog, and I've just reacted. Which, okay, it's not the best, but at the same time, I'm not saying it with a negative intention, basically.
Yeah.
And it's got me thinking in regards to, because I spoke to my wife about this, and it's been the first time that I've gone through our pods. And I just noted that there's a recurring thing of me saying something, and the way it's looked is like, it's kind of, to those, like you said, you guys have mentioned this before, you guys know me, so you know what I'm saying.
It's mad because I was just looking for my phone. I realised it was, I knew it was there. I beg you, grab it, please.
Where?
It's on the kitchen worktop. Karen Dollar, sorry.
So, no, let me get back into the shot.
No, keep going.
Okay, so you guys know me, so you know what I'm saying, and you understand what I'm saying, and you know that there's no malice to it. And you know, and like, you know exactly what I'm saying, you know what I mean. Whereas to the outsider, it could look mad.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
You guys have said this, but my thing is, that's not the cool, that's the case, but what I've often found in listening to those pods or listening to those segments, because I didn't listen to the whole pods, is that I've later come back to, if I've had the chance, I've later come back and said, this is what I meant. Or you guys have kind of said, oh, okay, what, you meant this? Or maybe in certain cases, I've seen that you guys didn't even understand as well. And then I've come later and said, oh, no, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant. But I feel like sometimes to get to that point, I would have got to that point already if it wasn't for the fact that I was interrupted. And I feel like enough of the times, because I remember saying in the first pod specifically, I try to implement and say, let's each talk one at a time. And then we're like, nah, let's leave it. This is how we do it.
It's difficult.
That's not gonna work, is it?
Just a kind of a
nah,
question.
but what I'm saying is, I don't mind you guys doing that, but when I'm talking, I don't want you to interrupt me, especially if I'm saying something that might seem mad.
Are you talking to us now?
Yeah.
So that again?
When I'm talking, I don't want you to interrupt me. If I'm saying something that might seem mad. No, I'm saying it on the pod now so that them man that are saying that I'm a savage can listen.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna get interrupted in it. It's live.
Then I'm not talking. It's as simple as that. Because I don't. No, listen. I'm serious. I'm serious.
Okay, finish.
Because I don't want to be labeled or seen as someone who's like, I usually don't care about how I'm seen, but this, I don't want to be seen as someone who's saying stuff to deliberately, or that's saying something not because I believe it, but because I'm trying to provoke a reaction. Or
Okay, I fully hear what you're saying.
I feel like if I just was left to and
you just cut him off, by the way. Just
was I not speaking?
Let's not be hypocritical.
He was talking.
So I'm not being hypocritical because this is the exact thing I'm talking about.
I'm gonna get you later, don't worry.
This is the exact thing I'm gonna get you. You won't get me. You know why? You know why? Because I've listened.
History
the same
suggests that I'll get you.
Okay, the same pods that I'm talking about.
Wait for the intro, the outro.
See what I mean? The same thing that I'm talking about. I've looked in the same pods to see if I've interrupted you guys like that, and I have. But it's been a thing of most of the time, majority of the time that I've interrupted, it's been to like further push your argument. As like, I get what you're saying, blah, blah, blah. Or to add to your argument.
Let me be honest with you.
And when it's also, but when we interrupt, it's...
Listen, I don't feel like we should focus on this interruption thing because it's inevitable. We're having a conversation.
I'm flabbergasted.
I feel like it's impossible for us to have a conversation and no one get interrupted. But then at the same time, I feel like you're now saying that in reaction to what other people have said about you, and I don't think it's a you problem. This whole savage thing is not you. It's people. People don't understand.
Yeah.
People,
of course,
like
they don't
you said,
understand.
there's a conventional use of the word savage. It's a very common word. I don't like using
I don't
the
like
word
being called a savage.
And I understand because I don't see it in a positive way either, and it's not a word I use.
And it's not one time. This is not the one time.
Okay, this is what I wanted to ask a question. Yeah. Have you ever been called a savage by someone that knows you? Like one of the mandem have called you a savage?
One of them, yeah.
One of the mandem has called you a savage.
Yeah.
Right.
The mandem, wait, as in the use of the term savage?
Yeah.
Of course, I think it's a storm in a teacup, to be honest. I don't think the word. Wait, why do you think the word's that? I don't think the word's that deep.
I don't think it's that deep. I don't think it's that deep. I don't personally.
Why don't you like? As in, no, but why?
I don't personally use it.
Why like?
Because I just don't use it. It's not a word that's in my vocabulary. I just don't.
So not
use the word
because there's something wrong with it, because you just don't use it.
I don't.
Objectively, forget about you.
I feel like it has certain negative connotations.
What are those connotations?
Just that a person that's just raggle and just talks about considering other people.
But
I feel like it has negative connotations, so I don't use it.
But okay.
And if someone called me a savage, I wouldn't like it either. However, what I'm saying about you and the fact that it's different is that because that word kind of has those connotations, and people aren't used to hearing people like you speak in a sense that hold on. And it's not that you're saying stuff to offend people, but it's the fact that the reason the way you are is because you're passionate about your subject matter. You're passionate about what you're talking about, and people aren't used to that. People might be used to people just talking raggo to get a reaction, and because they're not used to hearing people that are passionate about what they're talking about, fair enough, they put it all under the same umbrella. That's why I said it's not your problem, and I don't think you should now change who you are because of it.
No, I'm not changing who I am.
Because it's your intention.
I'm not changing who I am. I'm just saying.
And you shouldn't. And if people. And you shouldn't try to, I guess, make yourself more politically correct. You don't have to.
No, have I mentioned that? I haven't mentioned.
You haven't mentioned that, but you said you don't want us to interrupt you anymore, and that's kind of a way of making yourself a bit more, so you can finish your point.
No, yes, because if I finish my point, I've got to then kind of people can then go see. Okay, and you guys have done it where I've said something, I haven't finished. We've then gone and discussed for like 10 minutes, and then I've finished what I'm saying, and you guys are like, "Oh, okay, I see what you mean."
What does finish mean though? As in, when is a point? When does a point finish? Like, because if as in like when does a point finish? That's the actual question. When does a point finish?
Let me. In regards to this, you see what made me deep this the most, because I didn't really deep it until I deeped Remember we were in. I can't remember what we were discussing, but remember in our group chat, and I can't remember. I think it was like 2 people were saying, "Look, you need to let Abdullah finish his point," because I'm not gonna say names, but I think it was some.
Is this which chat? Is this the one with just our age group or the older ones?
Our age group.
Okay.
And then I was like, yeah, that kind of makes it, and it kind of links back to what I was thinking in regards to this whole Waitrose situation and the word savage, and me finishing what I've got to say so that it can make sense.
Okay.
If you deep it, if you just think, forget me, forget this whole situation. If you just think generally, how many things sound mad when you hear it, but when you hear
the explanation
behind it, it now sounds reasonable.
Do you know? Oh yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
What I'll say, going back to the question about when does the point finish? So like, if we take a group chat,
can you move this way slightly?
If we take a group chat setting, yeah, like, for example, group chat setting. It's WhatsApp. Obviously, you say a message or you say a voice note, and then that's it. If somebody needs to, if you can clarify your point later, or somebody has to say, let Abdullah finish, yeah, that means that, like, I'm assuming it means you've said something before. And it caused a reaction, and people reacted to what you said.
Yeah.
So as in the WhatsApp setting, you have free reign to type what you want or do a voice note as long as you want.
So if people haven't, it takes time to type.
If people
people react within that time.
Yeah, but so you said like, so if your point hasn't come across the way you want it to. That's and upon further and people respond to what they've interpreted, and upon further clarification, your point becomes across. Is that everybody's fault for not understanding, or your fault for not?
You've missed the point. Have I finished what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's what I said. So when does a point finish? If you send a message, you press send, and you press send. Are we supposed to say I'm not going to react?
We're talking about WhatsApp.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about in a WhatsApp setting.
I'm not talking about WhatsApp.
But you said on what general here. The example you gave was what? One of the examples you gave WhatsApp. So I'm gonna do the other example as well.
No, we're not talking. No, you miss. I don't think you're even thinking about the right chat. I'm talking about.
I'm not talking about. I don't remember the situation you're talking about. Okay.
I'll find it and then I'll just.
That's there's another. Okay.
Man, then we're talking about the pod.
Yeah.
And saying on the pod. I can't even remember what it was, the subject was, but they were just saying, I remember 2 of the man them saying, look, something. He even tried to say bullying, and I was like, nah, it's not like that. But I think he was joking anyway. But he said, look, let Dullah finish what he was saying. Was it? No. It wasn't in a WhatsApp chat. It was at Thingy's house.
I know what you're talking about.
It was the last time we were sitting down. You weren't there. It was me, you, and 2 other brothers. You were there, but you went in the conversation.
I remember the conversation, and I know exactly who he's talking about. I don't remember if you were there or not.
No, he wasn't there. He wasn't there.
I know what you're talking about. He wasn't there.
But that's what I was talking about.
Okay, if we bring it back to the real life thing, yeah. So like, cause for me, like, that question is important. Like, when does a point finish? Because at the end of the day, it
finishes when I finish explaining it.
But when is that? Because, for example, we can all agree the nature of conversation is people are gonna.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, I probably have never, or was very rare or not. It's not common at all that I have a point, an exact point, and in my opening splurge or whatever, when the first time I speak, the fullness of my point is going to have been communicated. But then people may talk about certain things, and through conversation or whatever,
it just moves on.
It's smooth. It moves on, or through conversation, it brings my final point or my eventual point is still realized. Yeah. And I may have to clarify or use means or whatever to make sure that my eventual point is clarified. But like, to do that with relative speed or whatever. For example, there was a time. For example, I wanted to ask this question. And then Dullah started speaking, and then I referred back to my question. For example, it's what I'm doing now exactly. We spoke about the group chat, but I've come back to what else. So the first thing so I could have reacted to the last thing you said, but instead I went back to what I was originally saying. Do you get me? So within that, yeah, like, because we can all agree that it's very rare that you're going to get to say your whole entirety you do an essay, because we're not like doing essays then rebuttal essays when it's not a debate, innit? Yeah. It's not a formal debate. So within that, you're gonna have to. I think that we all have to just, and in life, you just have to adapt to it. So if there's something you want to get across, then you endeavor to get across. Because at the end of the day,
that's on top of what I wanted to say.
Yeah, go on.
Because it's exactly what you've already said. Like, because it's not a debate. You're never or you're rarely gonna get free reign to just talk and explain your point.
Maybe what I said about explaining a full point was wrong, but at least let me get my point out.
And another thing is,
and at least clarify it a little bit to the point where it's clear to the listener, rather than me saying something and then it sounding mad and then not because again you just mentioned about saying something and then having to come back and moving on. But how can you move on from something if you're having to come back to it? You haven't moved on from it.
No, I said I could have moved on, but I didn't. So I'm not saying if you don't want to move on, you don't have to. But so if you want to come back to it, you can come back to it. Instead of because some people.
But this is the issue. I usually forget. That's what I'm saying.
But as in. That's not as in we can't. That can't be. We can't be. Yeah.
No.
But what are we meant to do if you forget? What are we meant to do?
Listen, I'm saying
we have 2 hours.
Imagine if I'm talking, I'm talking about something, and then he interrupt me with another subject, and I was gonna clarify what I was saying, but because he interrupted me, I've now forgotten what I'm saying, and then that's just been left there. But for those that are listening, they're not listening to that part, and that looks mad. And to me, it's not mad because I know what I was gonna say after, which is what is happening. I know what I was gonna say after. But I just haven't said it. Maybe I've even thought that I've said it, but I haven't said it because I've forgotten.
100, I heard
because
that.
I was interrupted.
I heard that. So in this going back to the thing that the principle that we all agreed on, that or not principle, that in the nature of conversation, you're gonna get cut off, or not you cut off. People are gonna talk about specific things you said, maybe not the entirety of the point. People are gonna jump on certain things. Just the nature of number one, the conversation. Number two, conversation for the point, for the sake of putting it out. That if somebody's gonna get cut off or gonna forget when they get cut off, but we can all accept that getting cut off is just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Where do we go?
I'm not. Let's just move on from this.
What's
gonna happen is if I get interrupted, I'll just say no. Let me finish. That's it.
Perfect. Let me give you a perfect example that I think summarizes everything that happens in this podcast, or not everything, but a lot of what happens there, or theme. Yeah. For example, last week, the end of the podcast,
yeah.
In that episode, the statement that we ended up debating or whatever talking about was if you're the type of person who has to ask your wife or whatever, then you just shouldn't get cool. I'm not forget even the content of that debate because it's not about that. But let's talk about that type of sentence. Yeah, a lot of the time when we have these big debates that end up going off on a tangent, it comes from a statement. Like that, where is the type of statement that it's the way you talk in it. It's just the nature of how you talk. Some people talk in certain ways. For example, I talk with a lot of I talk like I'm ready for somebody to debate with me. I'll give you my rebuttals before I've even finished talking, kind of. But then you speak in firm statements, in in statements that are like you speak with a lot of conviction in your belief.
Even if you listen to that, I'm sure I haven't listened to it, but I'm sure. From what I remember, I eventually, I didn't let it go until I explained a tiny bit. Like to explain that one sentence, it will take a long time. I get what you mean, but I at least got to say,
and this is perfect.
Look, the type of person. What I'm saying is, I can't remember what the type of person that would ask that would say that wouldn't go ahead with marrying a second wife until they got the permission from their first wife. Blah 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 blah.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because my next point was going to be that in my experience anyway, from my top of my head, 90% of the times where Abdullah or anyone has explained what their statement is, and obviously it's more likely to be you because of the way you say your initial statements, it comes from questioning, which normally will require an interruption at some point. So if no one ever says anything, then if I just left that, then we'll have sound clips of final, because of the way you talk initially, it will there'll be no explanation because you don't talk with the explanation.
That's excellent. That's fine. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. You interrupting me and saying that. But it's like when you interrupt me and say, oh, when I'm talking about when you're interrupted and it takes takes the conversation to a different realm, to the point where I've now forgotten what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you, because that's still the same topic.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay. In terms of it coming back or forgetting,
I think I've got this wrong, you know. I think I've got this wrong in regards to the word interrupting. I don't think interrupting is the right word. I think it's more like
we'll change the subject.
Changing a subject, or even just making me lose thought of what I was saying. I think that's just jumping into a different path. I think that's the issue. Not really.
Okay, and there's two things for that. I'll say that's a combination from my point of view. Ibs, you can jump in if you disagree. Yeah. From my point of view, that's a combination of one. Okay, fair enough. If you've been interrupted or not interrupted, or we've gone somewhere else, just be like, by the way, or like before we get there, what I was saying, that's one. And second thing is try to remember it. So it's a combination.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a combination.
Because I feel like
it's a combination.
It's difficult.
It's never going to be one thing in it.
It's easier said than done, because when you've got something at the top of the tongue and you're about to say it, and then something comes and you've forgotten it, that's like,
because it doesn't only happen to you. It's not like it only happens to you. It just maybe other people are better. Go on, Ibs, anyway. So
I feel like because of your experience, we're now kind of debating the mechanics of conversation.
Yeah.
And someone might argue that this isn't a conversation that we should be having on a podcast, but
I don't care.
Neither do I. And I feel like it relates to everyday life as well. But
yeah, it does relate to everyday life.
I think just going back to your experience, I genuinely don't feel like that's a you problem. I do understand that someone has said something to you and it's a stranger and it's made you reflect, which is good, because that can happen to someone else and they won't reflect. They'll just be like, yeah, that's who I am. So it's good that at least you've reflected on that encounter.
100.
And you've tried to adapt. But then at the same time, like I was saying before, I don't feel like that's an issue with you. I feel like that's just someone misunderstanding you because they don't know you. Because I would never use the word savage to describe. I would never use the word savage to describe.
But the thing about the word savage is, I don't think it's that deep. Like, if someone said to me, okay, take the, obviously it's because it's a bit, backbitey, but whatever, take that bit out of it. Yeah. Let's say if someone was talking about one of my boys or something, or I'm talking at the gym, I'm like, what, like, who plays what role on the podcast or something like that, and then they were like, yeah, I've already like, Abdullah's the savage. I'm not gonna jump in and be like, what do you mean he's savage? Because to me, I don't think that's and maybe it's because I know.
I said it's down to perception.
Maybe it's because I know what he means or whatever, but I don't think the word savage is that deep. So I don't think to defend the person. I don't think we have to.
I'm not saying it's that deep. I'm just I get what you're saying. It's personally for me, it's just not a word that I use. And maybe
it's because I use the word. Maybe it's because I use the word.
Yeah, there's lots of.
That's a language. That's a language thing.
There's lots of for example, a word that's commonly used now is cap. I don't say cap.
Yeah, cool.
I know what it means. I understand it, but I don't use it.
Yeah, cool.
I just don't use it.
No, yeah. No, but like, I never do it. But like, I don't think the person is saying anything. Yeah.
I'm not saying they said it. They said it. Otherwise, listen.
Careful.
Let's be real. Would I have reacted in the same way? I know their intention. I know their intention. I know they had a good intention when they said it. No one's a weirdo well, there are weirdos that do
come out and insult you. Yeah.
Our listeners are not weirdos.
Listen,
you're all wonderful people.
I know where they were coming from, but I don't. Well, now you know I don't like being called a savage. So if you see me in person and you call me a savage, it's an issue. But
what? And you don't like being, so going back so you don't like being called a savage because
maybe I'm just deep. I mean, you know what it is? I might be deep in it too much, but I don't like. For me, it's an issue with. I'm genuine. I like to see myself as genuine, and that's big to me. And for someone to say savage, in my head, that's like you've been saying stuff to get, like, for you to be called a savage, you must have done something to get that name. I guess obviously
that's the way you perceive that word.
I think this is more a case of the two people perceiving the same word differently.
And another thing is,
and maybe because I can sympathize with him because I see the way you've explained the word, I don't actually see the word like that, which is why I'm like, Yeah, that's because
I gave a different description.
Exactly.
Well,
so
not the same to that.
What could be positive about being called a savage?
But I think what you could save yourself possibly a lot of trouble, but instead of internalizing the word in the way you define it, probably try to think what did he mean when he said that.
Fair enough.
Isn't that the same thing? Isn't that what I've just done?
No, because you've attached your own definition to it.
Yeah.
Okay, what does he mean by? What could he mean by the word savage?
You're blunt. You're like what's it called? Like harsh. You're take no.
Why would I be known as someone who's harsh?
Harsh is, but harsh. You've just said you said yourself. I don't take nonsense.
I don't. That doesn't
someone
mean I'm
will
harsh.
say if someone doesn't. That's okay. Harsh. Harsh is not a digital. It's like there's a scale to harsh. So there's more harsh, less harsh. Harsh doesn't mean you're at the top of harshness. It just means, for example, you're more of a harsh person than me, no?
No, I just don't take as much nonsense.
Exactly. That's the same thing.
I'm harsh.
That's the same thing. No, but you're only seeing harsh as being.
If someone's not taking nonsense and they're seen as harsh, then you're an idiot. That's it.
Okay, so you've just said you've just said anybody. So you've basically called me an idiot because you attach my. So you just call me an idiot. I would say, Dullah, that's a bit harsh, but I can't say that because that makes me more of an idiot. So I'm in a cycle of idiocracy, idiot, whatever the word is.
So you punch someone up, they don't have it, and now because of that they're harsh.
No, because that's an equal reaction. Whereas you've just called me an idiot for my opinion. Do you know what I mean? If I was a harsher person, I might get a bit annoyed by that. But we're on camera and that, so I'm gonna. But do you know what I mean? So I don't think. I think if you attach his definition to it, because if he actually thought all the things you're saying and all the things you're saying about the word savage, I don't think somebody who means those things and has listened to Dullah is gonna go up to him in Waitrose randomly and just call him that, because that's just looking for trouble. And he probably came to you with a smile, or he probably was, I don't know, starstruck, because obviously it's the biggest podcast in the world, and celebrities like and that. Bro, he's in Waitrose, not in Knightsbridge. So I don't think that, like, I think if you attach those definitions to it, like his ones, or see it from his point of view, then you'll probably feel less.
Man came to me with a smile. Man came to me on good vibes.
Exactly.
And if man came to me and said, Jollof after draw, you're a savage.
Be different.
But that's not what he did, innit?
No.
Exactly. So
I know it's come from a good intention, but it's like man saying, it's like man coming up to you and saying, you're a prick, and they don't know you. He's smiling and he's laughing, but he's calling you a prick.
But a prick is clear. Like, there's no debate with what a prick is, though. A prick and savage is different.
No, because if you're joking with your friend, and maybe someone made a distasteful joke towards another friend or whatever, to say you're a prick, that could be seen as a joke.
There's no
context.
Yeah, but there's no difference. There's no difference of opinion. No, there isn't, because that's an insult. And there's no two ways about it. There's no.
The word prick, you can only very much get away with using that, or unless you're very buddy. You can't call someone a prick in any way that you don't know. Whereas the word savage, bro, you're savage. I mean, there's what like that's not like, I'm not going. Oh, what do you mean stuff? That's not. It's not that deep. In my opinion, anyway. And maybe it's because the way I use the word, I don't think it's that deep. So so like there's, for example, if somebody was like, like somebody came up to me, I was like, you think you're smart, innit? Like the way, like, and I'll be like, I don't think he's trying to say, you think you're smart. Like, I think he's trying to say,
no. If you think you're smart, that's belittling.
No, because if somebody, for example, if somebody came up to me based on, remember when we spoke about, anyway, based on one of those episode where I've very much done lots of devil's advocate, that type of. If somebody came up to me like, I heard episode 10, you think you're smart, innit? I'm gonna get, do you know what I mean? I'll get what he means by that, and I'm not gonna be offended because I know what he's saying, because it's like, what you think you're trying to be clever. So it's about, do you know what I mean?
Again, I said that's
excuses and that, innit?
That's context. That's scenario. Let's put that to bed anyway. Let's leave it there.
If somebody said you're savage after that idiot whatever. Is that a madness? I don't think it's a madness. I think it's a justifiable response, especially when it's like on the banter thing.
I never said the whole thing was.
Don't call me a savage, innit?
I don't think it's a madness. I don't think it's that deep. It's not a word I use. It's not a word I would use to describe You know, I might understand if someone else used it. I might understand, but yeah, I do think what he said is right about you saving yourself trouble by looking at the way that the other person is meant rather than attaching your meanings. But yeah, I think to kind of put it to bed.
Yeah.
I think you're a passionate person, and I don't think you need to change that or become more eloquent.
This has never been about me changing it. I'll never change anything about me unless it's pertaining to the religion.
Yeah.
If I feel like if I've been pulled up on something that I'm doing wrong, extremely wrong, regardless of who it's. But listen, I've been pulled up on stuff by non-Muslims, and I've been like, it's even worse because it's a non-Muslim, and it's like, it's not something I should be doing, or it's just something I should be doing, and I've changed myself in a way because of that. But in regards to superficial stuff, no, of course not. This is me we're talking about.
Actually, keeping up, because it's kind of on the topic or not, or in line with that self-reflection type of thing. One thing, obviously we spoke about this, that we're going to try to be doing, inshallah. I'm going to say it on air so that there's accountability. So if we don't do it, people can cuss us. And if we don't do it, please
don't
feel
cuss
free
me.
to, not cuss, but feel free to point out that, you know.
Yeah,
because
but don't cuss me. I'll black your eye. Anyway, continue.
Such rather savage of you, my friend. Anyway. Anyway, maybe it's my head that will be black. One thing we want to start, inshallah, try to do is just trying to drop in like some beneficial nasiha / little nuggets of kind of Islamic information or Islamic education into every episode, because it's one thing that's good at.
Let's not say education. Let's say beneficial reminders, isn't it?
But
we're not educating you. We're just
telling somebody something that they didn't know before.
It's education.
It's education.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and we're talking to obviously not. Inshallah, we've got alim listening and we've got the layman listening. So
you're right. So yeah. So, 5-minute nugget.
So and it may be kind of in line with what we're talking about. It might just be something completely unrelated. It could be, I don't know, a beneficial reminder from a story or a prophet. It could be something you learned to do with, I don't know, the fiqh of wudu or something. It could be random, but inshallah we're gonna try to do that. So we'll try to embed it where we can, but sometimes it'll just be kind of there, plonked in the middle, or the beginning or the end of the podcast, inshallah. But yeah, obviously first up is me. I'm gonna try and rotate who's doing it as well, so you'll be hearing from different people, inshallah, and maybe inshallah external people as well. Maybe like not external, but our friends or teachers or whatever they want to call in, the guest, whatever. And my one is gonna be just a little kind of reflection on like kind of personal reflection within ourselves. So I wanted to talk a little bit about doubts and desires, so shubuhat and shahawat. Firstly, because I think kind of after Ramadan, it's a time where naturally and it's expected. Yeah, exactly. It's a time where after Ramadan, your iman is very likely. It's just the nature of it is going to drop. Like when it's not, we're outside of that month where the shayateen are locked away, and therefore it's not as easy for us to avoid our shahawat, our desires. It's not, our nafs are going to be more kind of susceptible. We're going to be more susceptible to our nafs, exactly. So so I think firstly, when it comes to doubts, let me just, if I define it as well, the doubts are going to be all those things which kind of misguide us or divert us away from what the truth is from haqq. So which is the belief in Allah, in the oneness of Allah, in his lordship, in his worship. So things that we might fall into that divert us away from that, which is basically sins. And then in terms of our desires, the desires are going to be the things that kind of turn us away from Allah or divert us from that path in terms of our actions. So yeah, and a lot of those are going to be personal, internal things, like if that's the love of money, things that we love that are not in the way of Allah. So money, women, cars, status, etc. And when it comes to, I was listening to something from like a little kind of sound clip from Ustad, I think it was Tim Humble, and he was talking a little bit about the way that the shaitan is, and I know one of our brothers in the masjid would always say that the way that the shaitan is, he's like a salesman, or the shaitan he's got the most experience, and the way that the shaitan is gonna kind of come to Ibs, the way that shaitan will come to me, and the way that shaitan will come to Dullah is going to be completely different, because it's going to be based on how we are. And what he's got on us is experience. He's seen all the people.
Experience and patience.
Exactly, experience and patience. And the way that he's going to approach me, and like I said, is going to be different. He's going to hit us in different ways, and it's going to be often based on our shahawat, our desires. So what we need to do in terms of kind of fighting that off, or kind of making us less susceptible to that, is to fill our heart with the love of Allah, such that if somebody was to appeal to the earthly things that we love, it's not going to have as much of an impact. It's not going to have as much of an impact because we don't care about those things as much as somebody else. And the way you do that is by literally acts of worship. And there's certain acts of worships which are gonna kind of increase our iman, and increase our kind of increase our, there's like iman boosters. So there's certain acts. One of them is kind of, for example, helping the needy. One of them is filling yourself with beneficial knowledge that you can impart. So for example, learning how to better your salah. For example, if you can have knowledge and be able to apply that knowledge, then that's the best knowledge that will kind of make a change in the person immediately. You can learn about the fiqh of business, but if you are working as a nurse, it may not have as much of an impact on you. Whereas learning about the adab of handling, talking to people, for example, is going to have more of an impact on you. It's going to have more of an impact. So this is from Surah Sa'd. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا داود إنا جعلناك خليفة في الأرض فاحكم بين الناس بالحق ولا تتبع الهوى فيضلك عن سبيل الله إن الذين يضلوا عن سبيل الله لهم عذاب شديد بما نسوا يوم الحساب. And the meaning of that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to Prophet Dawood. So, O Dawood, indeed we have made you a successor upon earth, so judge between the people in truth and do not follow your own desires, as it will lead you astray from the way of Allah. And that's encapsulates what I'm saying, is that essentially that our desires are things that are going to take us away from the path of Allah, so we have to do things to come back to that. And when it comes to doubts, in this day and age, just to wrap up, in this day and age where we living in a modern society, living in the land of, living in a Western society, that we are literally being bombarded with things that can lead us vulnerable to doubting our faith, whether that's atheism, whether that's the mollycoddling society, whether that's social justice warriors, whether that's feminism, all these things which are almost geared to kind of throw stones at the fortress that is our iman. They're going to take us away. So it's even more important for us to kind of increase our knowledge, surround ourselves with good people, and just in a way to fortify yourself. So that was just a little reminder from me firstly, and for me firstly, and for everybody else secondly. Anything I've said obviously in that little snippet that was incorrect was from myself and the shaitan, and anything that I said correct was from Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that was a little.
Do you know what I've kind of noticed?
Yeah.
Coming out of Ramadan, like just exactly like you said about trying to stay away from our desires. It's a slippery slope. Because like once you're out of this month and you're, like you said, more susceptible to shaitan and his boys. It's like all it takes is for him to grab you once, and it becomes a very, very slippery slope from there. It's like you will do it once, and then you might want to explore variation of that particular sin of whatever it is, and it becomes a very, very slippery slope, and it's very, very easy to fall back into. So, it's definitely a good reminder of just trying to. I saw. Sorry, what you done? No. I saw. Which encapsulates what you said perfectly. Yeah, that I saw a video, and it was like first day after Ramadan, and the person walks out, and then they see something, and then in the like obviously the editing they do like this, like the sound of thunder clap, and it's like
this is why I stayed in my house.
Yeah.
And it's like just boom, seeing, obviously we know, I don't need to go into what, you know, the details of the video, but you know what he saw, and it's like seeing, but just what triggers so much in you that it can just send you back down to.
Exactly.
So it's mad how and it goes like what I said, the shaitan, he knows your vices, so you need to reduce your vices basically. Yeah, so you can avoid, but avoiding you can avoid, but you're gonna have to go outside sometime. So you need to replace those. Yeah. So it's what
let's just try and remember what we were doing in Ramadan, especially the first few days of Ramadan, and let's try and keep that, even if it's to a lesser degree. Let's try and keep that going. All right, brother. So yeah, what are you saying? So, children. Have you ever thought or invested in what plans do you have for your children, inshallah? In regards to financially, do you have any intentions to have like a investment fund or none of that stuff?
I ain't even spared it a thought.
You haven't even thought of that. So you thought about what schools you want your children to go to?
Yeah, I guess so.
But you haven't thought about how you're going to take it. Are you going to have an investment fund or
honestly,
save money for them or have a bank account? What age are you going to have? Are your children going to have a bank account?
I don't know. I have not. Honestly, I'm not even going to lie. I haven't spared it for yet. I'm not looking to have kids anytime in the near future. Anytime in the near future, I'm not looking to have kids. Not anytime in the near future.
No one's asking about when you're looking to have kids and talking about plans.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of provides context. That's what I mean. So because I haven't thought about, because I'm not thinking about it anytime soon, I haven't put any thought towards any sort of things I'll put in place for them.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I've had kids.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I've just thought about, so I've been putting stuff into place for how I'm going to set up. I've done this. I've always wanted to have children.
Yeah.
So I've had this stuff in plan from years ago. Like I think when I first saw this when I was watching Top Gear, and I think Gordon Ramsay was on there. And he was talking about how he had a plan set up in regards to not just giving his children wealth, having a trust fund set up, but it's set up in a place that they work, and then the trust fund will double their salary each year they start working, kind of thing. Rather than giving the money to them, they earn money. Yeah, they work hard for their own money, and then they benefit from this by the trust fund, by the trust fund doubling their salary. So, Say for example, they're because I'm looking to get this set up for my daughter as well. They say, for example, my daughter starts working when she's 18, 9. Even if she's working anyway, she's not going to be working in a pizza shop. But let's say somebody's child, they're working in a pizza shop, earning 12K a year. As long as they're over 18, because that's, I think, for most wills. Most of the benefactors cannot benefit from your will until the age of 18. I don't know how, but that's how it is for my ones. By the way, we should be all setting up our wills and paying for our funerals and stuff. We should always be thinking about death and stuff. But that's another topic. But anyways, yeah. So say she starts working at 18, even if it's working at a pizza shop, whatever. She would earn 20K or 15K, and then the trust fund will double that and make it 30K.
What do you mean the trust fund doubles it?
So, you know how most people have a trust fund.
So she has to be earning a salary before she gets access to the trust fund. Okay.
She has to earn her own money and the trust fund will double it.
Yeah.
Simple. It's literally that simple.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
obviously she will know how much is in it, because imagine working and then you're awaiting that, you're literally waiting on that money to come. And then they just tell you, instead of you earned 40K this year, instead of getting another 40K, you're already getting 10, because that's all that was left.
And that will kind of get you to work harder, yeah. Now that makes sense, I guess. That way you know that your children are going to know the value of money and hard work as well, so that if they attain more, then they get more. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm not actually thought of that. I didn't know that was a thing. But
not only that, like, obviously, it's as fathers, I think it's Sulatan Nisa. I said it on this podcast before, but I mentioned it wrong, so I said married there. It's not. well, there's some stuff in Maida, but I believe it's Surah An-Nisa where it literally stipulates how you should set up your will as a man, and I think it covers literally all possibilities. It covers if literally your family are passed and they're just parents and just your parents are left. It covers if you've got multiple wives. It's the Quran. It's the Quran. It covers
everything.
The Quran covers everything. It's literally a manual on life. But yeah, in regards to financial future of my children, that's literally how I'm set it up, inshallah. Obviously it's a will, so it's forever evolving until you pass.
Yes.
And we should be making sure that our wills are in check, because what if, inshallah, I plan to have many other children and they're not currently in a will. They're gonna have to be in a will. So
I just one thing I've kind of noticed just recently, especially like, I think it's just like in TV and like in like the media. I feel like the way Muslims are always represented in the media, or not just in TV. Let's say TV in general. You always find that
it's a joke.
Yeah, there's always if there's ever like a character that's a Muslim, whether it be male or female, it's either always this person is struggling with their deen.
It's never ever somebody who's on job, basically.
Yeah, basically.
And
I think my wife was watching something, and I think it kind of made me think. I don't know if the people that they're getting to play Muslims are actually Muslims or not, but I kind of thought to myself, if I was to be put in that situation, would I feel comfortable with playing a Muslim that doesn't practice their religion properly, knowing the way the media already portrays Muslims and how this is going to make Muslims seem already? And obviously the answer for me was no. So I just kind of thought to myself, if these people that are playing these Muslims are Muslim themselves, how do they look at this? Number one, are they Muslim? And number two, like what, like, and I find myself maybe trying to make excuses for these people. Maybe this is their first big job and they really need it, because it's just odd for me. I feel like you already know how badly we're portrayed in the media already, and then you're now doing things to add to this, and you can kind of make the argument that if it's not me, it's going to be someone else, so I might as well do it. But just as a Muslim, that wouldn't sit right with me. I'm adding to this narrative, innit?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Not only that, it's ignorance. It's pure ignorance, because as Muslims, first and foremost, if you're not praying or you're doing sins on TV, you're literally putting your sins out there. Yeah. Let's not assume they're doing other sins. You just mentioned not praying. Yeah. That itself is a sin. Like praying is, it's one of the only things that differentiates us from disbelievers, as a bare minimum. So you being on TV, broadcasted to millions of people out there, you're literally broadcasting the fact that you're not praying out there. I'd like, obviously it's a if and yay, because at the same time, how do you know they haven't recorded when the person might have been praying or whatnot? But chances are, if they're praying and you know that, because I saw one silly nonsense thing where the woman says she doesn't pray to God in a convention. She doesn't pray. She's a Muslim, but she don't pray to Allah. She writes letters to Allah. Joke, man. Let me not even say joke, man, because I don't want to feel like, I feel like that comes to the savage thing. Like, I don't want to be sitting on this pod here and someone thinking I'm judging people and bashing people, because that's not what I'm here doing. That's not what I'm here to do. That's not what I'm about. Me, I'm not perfect, so I can't be judging people. At the end of the day, certain stuff is just silly.
We can just clarify that that's just
something just stupid. Like man saying, I'm not gonna pray to Allah, how he legislated, how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's the best of creation. Worship to Allah, but you know what? I'm better. I'm gonna instead do my own thing, and I'm writing letters to Allah. That's sufficient. Yeah, man, I tapped. Yeah, but and not only that, man, I'm doing it on TV to broadcast it to everyone. Like, it's pure ignorance, because for you to understand the severity of that, for you not to understand the severity of that shows that you clearly don't know what you're doing. Because if you did, you would literally be
you
would be crying.
That's another thing, and that I feel like a lot of, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of Muslims maybe don't understand the severity of it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, trying to explain it to a non-Muslim will be even more difficult.
No, of course
the
not.
Severity of
because the Muslims are watching that. Those are the Muslims that come to you, come to us, man, and say, "Oh, why not? Because Sally on TV does it, and she's Muslim, or so and so does it. They see this and they see that's what a Muslim is, and maybe they might think, oh, she's doing it, or he and she or whatever on TV is a Muslim, and maybe they're just doing a bare minimum, and you're doing above. Yeah, why can't you just leave what you're doing or do this and that just for one day, because that won't be imposing anything because she does it and blah blah blah." And
yeah, I feel like because that narrative is just so out there, it gets to a point where someone will know nothing about you and just assume. So, like, for example, I remember a couple of weeks ago, I must have been seeing a patient at work, and we didn't necessarily get to talking about religion, because that's one thing. If when I'm in the workplace, it's just something that
doesn't get discussed.
It's off limits for me. I don't get into discussing religion or politics or just
obviously, if someone wants to know, you would tell them. But if it's a debate,
I just tend to stay out of it. Yeah. So I think she must have mentioned something, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just said, "Yeah, I'm Muslim," and she just assumed, and she was like, "But you don't practice, do you?" Wow. And I was like, "I do,"
yeah.
but I was
I think that comes to the. And I was just thinking, more to race.
I was just maybe
because a lot of people have this notion. Again, I think we've mentioned this on so many times on this podcast. So a lot of people that are non-black actually have this illusion or this assumption.
But I was just thinking, like,
don't take your religion seriously. If you're
you don't know me. We've literally, this is the first time we've met. What have I done or what have I said that's just made you assume that I don't practice? What's made you assume that? And my answer was there can't be anything because we've literally just met. So it has to be your own preconceived notions or maybe your own ignorance that's just made you assume that. But
it's all ignorance from both sides.
Yeah,
from all sides.
And it is so widespread now. I feel like although those kind of TV and movies, I don't feel like those are the avenues at which we need to be looking for representation, because everything around that is just wrong in itself, so that we don't need to. So I don't feel a sense of exclusion if there isn't a Muslim actor that's at the top, or there isn't a Muslim character, or there isn't a Muslim superhero. I don't feel any sort of exclusion, because, like I said, those avenues aren't the places we need to be looking for inspiration.
Most people feeling that way are just these nonsense tap people that probably go to protests and stuff. Those are the type of people that feel this way. I think as a solution to this, I think what we could do as Muslims, in order to combat this and kind of provide further education of what Muslims should really be like, are really like, practicing Muslims, is just to be good neighbours. Yeah. Good neighbours. Whenever it's Eid, give them some meat, take care of them, watch their back, get them to watch your back. Chill. I think that's how we should be Muslims. That's as Muslims, we're meant to be good neighbours anyway, regardless.
Yeah, because it's probably like the easiest and the best thing that you can do. Yeah.
The biggest form of da'wah. Yeah. I think it's the easiest. When Sally next door knows that the Muslims wouldn't do this, though, the Muslims wouldn't, if I left this something in their care, they wouldn't, for example, if I gave them a valuable, expensive item, they wouldn't break it, they wouldn't steal it, they wouldn't deflame it, they wouldn't whatever. Or if I'm expecting expensive delivery, I can trust them to take it. It builds a connection. It builds.
You know what? Yeah, but I feel like on how often do people attach those good traits to you being a Muslim? Because you can do all of those things and be that person's neighbor, and they might just say this person's a good person, not they're a good person because they're a Muslim.
I think sometimes
I know people that have been very, very close to me, non-Muslims, but have negative opinions of Muslims, but they don't know any bad Muslims. They just have negative opinions of Muslims.
I think sometimes it just takes opening your mouth to say Just like, if we're smart about it, there's a way that you can always put it in there that I'm doing this because I'm a Muslim. I'm doing this because I'm a Muslim. Oh, you didn't have to. Oh, it's just what my religion
teaches me.
Just what my religion teaches, raised me to do.
Yeah.
There's a way that with a lot of good deeds. Like, obviously, we're not meant to show off.
Yeah.
But with these kind of situations, it's not really showing off in a sense. It's more kind of education. A form of that way. It's more.
It's almost like the onus has become on us now.
Yeah.
To educate people.
It's always been.
Yeah.
It's always been as people. And I feel like the more of that you do, the more of that, it's almost like more of a repetitive thing. The more of those little, oh, it's because I'm a Muslim, or that's what my religion teaches me to do, or that's just Islam, that's the way it is. The more that keeps coming up, the more, it's like a, I don't want to give the analogy of a song, but it's more like
it sticks in your head, basically.
It sticks in, they already know it's coming. When they say, oh, before they ask a question, they already know what the answer is. Religion. Their religion. It's because they're Muslim. And when that gets drummed in their head, then they can tell their friends, oh, my neighbour's a Muslim, and no, they don't act like that, or they're not doing nonsense like that person's doing on TV.
Yeah.
That claims to be Muslim.
I've never actually thought of it that way. Yeah.
Because if you deep it, if people are really smart and they've seen, I'm talking about non-Muslims, and they've seen what's around them, and they've seen how, for example, they have been portrayed in the media, they know that what's in the media is not 100%. Even if they think that it might be somewhat of a representation, they know it's not 100% of the true representation, because they're living in this country. They've seen Muslims. They've interacted with Muslims. Not only that, they know how it feels to, because I don't think most, unless you're white, really, and even if you're white, still, there's always examples of people that you can relate to, that you can assimilate to, that are in the media but don't represent you, that are like you but you know are not kind of. Yeah, am I making sense? Like, there's always no matter what race, what caste you are, there's always an example of you on TV that you know is not like you. If that makes sense. So if they can see that, then surely a spanner in the head must screw and kind of get them to think, okay, if that person's on TV portraying to be like me and they're not like me, then maybe there's a small chance that those people in TV that look like these people are not exactly like that.
I feel like you're giving people too much credit.
Maybe I am, but I'm not talking.
I get what you're saying.
I'm talking about a small percentage of people that are smart.
It's a very small percentage.
Like,
it's a very, very small percentage. It's a very, very small percentage nowadays. Nowadays, honestly. Yeah, I was just saying, the type of person that you're talking about though represents a very, very small percentage of society nowadays. Because the rest and the majority of society are people that are just gonna jump on a bandwagon and listen everything to the news says, even though most of the time it's wrong.
Yeah, definitely. But maybe, you know what it is? I didn't say everyone's like that. I'm just saying, like, surely people are smart enough to even, I'm not saying people should think, okay, what I said, see someone in TV that's like them and then think, okay, if I'm not being represented correctly, I'm just saying maybe that should, like, at least, if it's not going to 100% change the way they think, at least maybe that should 10% change the way they think. At least that should leave an inkling, a doubt in their mind that maybe there's a chance, a small chance, a tiny chance that not everyone's being represented how they are on TV. I'm not saying everyone should think. Just be human, like have a brain, kind of thing.
But then I feel like with the media nowadays, it doesn't take a lot to change someone's mind. It really doesn't. And I feel like the people at the top, they know this. They know that people's minds are easily swayed and they're easily influenced. It doesn't take a lot for someone's mind to be swayed. Someone might have that thought, and then a news article will come out the next day about a terrorist incident and they're back to where they were before. It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't. So, like I said again, I feel like the people you're talking about represents a very, very minute.
Look how many let's take this away from us. Look how many people know that know about the coronavirus situation and all this stuff.
You're still
and,
seeing
and
protests.
You're
still seeing like my wife was in Central yesterday. You're still seeing protests.
And look how that's being handled. You go, like I said,
and people are dying at the hundreds of thousands, and yet do you know how much of an insult that is? And yet your protest is saying it's not real.
At least people are not saying it's for 5G. 5G. Oh, I got coronavirus. 5G.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You can do that with a pod. You can do that with a pod.
I'll just travel down.
How long is it?
Luton, St Albans. Luton. This is the thing about Luton. It's an hour away from anywhere in London. Anywhere. South, east, north, west.
I was actually looking to move to St Albans.
Yeah, St Albans, Luton, Bedford.
We found like a proper nice flat in St Albans, but much cheaper.
The thing about there is that it's culturally diverse.
Memories full.
Memories full.
So has it stopped?
I think so.